They say some truths age like wine, only more bitter the longer they sit. Mine was covered in dust, crammed between an old Christmas wreath and a busted humidifier I'd meant to fix years ago. It started on a rainy Thursday, the kind of afternoon where the clouds just sit like judgment, heavy and unmoving. My name's Daniel Pierce, 46, born and raised in Evanston, Illinois. I'm a high school English teacher. Yes, one of those guys who still wears corduroy and corrects grammar under his breath. I've been married to my wife, Rachel, for 21 years. We have a son, Miles, who's in his first year of college, and a daughter, Harper, in her junior year of high school. Our life looked stable. No fireworks, but no explosions either. We lived in the same two-story colonial we bought a year after we married, painted the kitchen 3 times over, took safe family vacations to Maine or Wisconsin, and celebrated anniversaries with steaks and wine. Routine, predictable, safe. That Thursday, I come home early from school after a parent-teacher conference was canceled. Rachel wasn't home. She was at her mother's place an hour away, helping her sort through old photo albums before a planned move. Harper was at track practice, so I figured I'd finally get up to the attic and pull down the Halloween decorations. I hadn't been up there in years, not since we stored Miles' old crib. The ladder groaned under my weight, and the air was thick with insulation dust and stale nostalgia. Boxes were everywhere, labeled in Rachel's handwriting: Christmas, baby clothes, Daniel's stuff, do not throw, which made me smirk. I moved aside some bins, reached behind a crate, and found an envelope. It was aged, yellow at the corners, sealed. No postage, just our address on it. My name wasn't on the outside, but Rachel's handwriting was unmistakable. I opened it without thinking. I don't know why. Maybe I assumed it was some list she'd made or a forgotten note. Maybe I shouldn't have. Inside was a letter, dated February 14th, 2010. Rachel, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I know what we did was a mistake, maybe not in the moment, but afterward, yes. Every time I see your husband, I hate myself. But I also hate how I miss you. Please talk to me. We can't leave it like this. There was no signature, just the weight of that sentence. I sat there frozen. My fingertips went cold. I read it again, then again. There was no context, no clarity, just a raw fragment of something that should never have existed. A mistake, guilt, a mention of me as your husband. It wasn't written by Rachel. Someone else had written it to her. I wanted to believe it was a joke, or maybe something from a novel draft. Rachel dabbled in writing back in the day. But this wasn't fiction. It was personal. It had emotion. It had guilt. Too real. Too sharp. I stayed up in the attic until Harper texted asking if dinner was ready. I went downstairs, turned on the oven, and stared at a frozen lasagna until the preheat beeped. I didn't tell Harper anything. I couldn't. I didn't know what I was telling myself yet. That night, when Rachel came home, she kissed me on the cheek and told me her mother was downsizing everything. So we should do the same soon. I stared at her and wondered, what did you downsize for me? I didn't confront her. Not then. Instead, I waited until she went to bed, then crept into her home office. I opened her drawers. I checked her laptop. Nothing suspicious. No signs of an old email or secret correspondence. The kind of silence that screamed well hidden. I didn't sleep. I stayed up replaying every memory from that time, 2010. Our son was 5. Our daughter was 2. Rachel had just gone back to work part-time at a nonprofit downtown. We were still building our life. I remembered working late hours, missing dinners, arguments over laundry and babysitters. I remembered nothing that would make me suspect an affair. And yet, someone wrote that letter. I took a photo of it on my phone. Then I placed the original right back where I found it. I needed time. I needed proof. I needed more than 7 sentences on a sheet of yellowed paper. The next morning, Rachel made me coffee like always. Asked if I wanted eggs or just toast. I said toast. She smiled, brushed the hair behind her ear, and talked about getting the roof repaired before winter. I looked at her and thought, who were you back then? And who are you now? That weekend, I drove an hour north and met with someone I hadn't seen in 14 years. Tom Harper. He used to work with Rachel back in 2010. We'd been close for a time, barbecues, poker nights. But one day he stopped showing up. Rachel said he left the nonprofit suddenly. Got another job. Moved away. No drama. But Tom looked older now. Thinner. Still wore that stupid leather bracelet from his 20s. I messaged him 2 days before and told him I needed to ask something, privately. We met at a diner, both of us nursing cold coffee. Did you write Rachel a letter in February 2010? He didn't flinch, didn't deny it, just said, "You found it." And then he looked out the window. "You found it," Tom repeated, softer this time, like the words themselves had dust on them too. I sat across from him in that cheap vinyl booth, my fingers wrapped tight around a ceramic mug that hadn't seen fresh coffee in an hour. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what I wanted to hear. "Why?" I finally asked. My voice cracked. I cleared my throat. "Why did you write it?" Tom looked tired, not just from age, but like someone who'd carried something too long. He sighed and looked down at the table. "I didn't think she'd keep it," he said. "I never thought she'd let it just sit somewhere. Rachel wasn't that type." "You didn't answer the question," I said, louder this time. "Why did you write it?" He took a deep breath, then said it flat out. "Because I loved her." The words landed like bricks. "I loved her," he repeated. "And for a short while, she loved me too." I felt like throwing up. I stared at him, trying to see something in his face, a lie, a crack, anything that would make this untrue. But he wasn't gloating. He wasn't even sorry. He was just broken. It started when she came back to work. After Harper was born, we were working on a campaign, late nights, tight deadlines. One night we kissed. It happened again. Then it didn't stop. I looked away. My hands were shaking. "How long?" I asked. Tom hesitated. 6 months, maybe a bit longer. I stood up. I had to. I couldn't breathe sitting down. He didn't stop me. I paced toward the entrance, then stopped, gripping the diner door handle like it was the only thing keeping me upright. "She chose you," he said from behind me. "She ended it. She said she had to go back to her family, to her husband, to her kids. Said she couldn't be this person." I turned around slowly. "And you thought writing her a letter after she ended it would fix something?" "I thought it might bring her back," Tom admitted. "Or at least give me closure." Closure. What a cruel word. "I have a family," I said, trying to steady my voice. "A son, a daughter. 14 years of marriage after that. Vacations, birthdays, anniversaries. All while this was buried under my roof." Tom didn't respond. He just stared at his coffee, like he didn't have the right to look me in the eyes anymore. I left the diner. Didn't say goodbye. Just got in my car and drove until my knuckles were white from gripping the wheel. That night, I slept in the basement. Rachel noticed. She asked what was wrong, but I mumbled something about a migraine. She didn't push. How could she sleep so peacefully? How could she lie next to me for over a decade with that truth tucked away? The next morning, I called in sick. I pulled out old photo albums, tax returns, calendars from 2010. I needed a timeline. I needed to make sense of the months where my life and her betrayal overlapped. The evidence wasn't explosive. No emails, no texts, no journals. But something had shifted in those pages. A canceled Valentine's Day dinner. A receipt from a downtown hotel on a Tuesday. A week in March where she suddenly worked late 4 nights in a row. Rachel's laugh echoed down the stairs while I sat cross-legged on the basement floor, surrounded by lies. That evening, after Harper went to bed, I finally asked her, "Do you remember Tom Harper?" She looked up from her tablet, blinking slowly. "Tom? From the nonprofit?" "Of course." "Why? You ever hear from him after he left?" She paused. "No. He moved to Seattle, I think." "Why are you bringing him up?" I watched her carefully. Her face was calm. Steady. Too steady. "Because I saw him today," I said. Her lips parted just slightly. She didn't blink. "And he told me about you too." Still no emotion. Not panic. Not confusion. Just stillness. "I don't know what you think you know, Daniel," she said finally. "But whatever he told you, it's not the full story." That was it. That's all she gave me. "Then give me the full story," I said. Rachel looked away, took a deep breath, and whispered, "You really want to do this tonight?" "No," I said. "I want to have done it 14 years ago." She nodded slowly, stood up, and walked into the kitchen. I followed her. She leaned against the counter, gripping the edge like it would hold her together. "We were tired, Daniel. You were never home." I felt alone, like a single mom with a husband who lived in the same house, but wasn't present. I was angry, sad, and Tom, he was there, and I let it happen. That's the truth. I stared at her. I couldn't tell if I hated her or if I was just hollow. Why didn't you tell me? Because I ended it, she said, and I chose to stay. I didn't want to destroy everything for a mistake that was already over. I laughed bitterly. It wasn't over. He wrote you a letter. She closed her eyes. I never replied. I never spoke to him again. But you kept it, I said. You kept it, Rachel. That silenced her. I don't know why I didn't throw it away, she said quietly. Maybe part of me wanted to be reminded. Not of him, of what I almost lost. I didn't sleep that night either. I sat in the hallway, back against the wall, listening to the soft hum of the fridge, the tick of the thermostat, and the quiet, broken sound of my life rearranging itself. The next day, I drove Harper to school. She looked out the window and said, "Did you and Mom have a fight?" I gripped the wheel. "Why do you ask? You just look different. Kids see more than we want them to." Later that day, I received a package at work. No return address. Inside was a flash drive. No note. No label. I plugged it in. One folder. Dated Feb 2010. Inside, 6 photos. All of them of Rachel. With Tom. Holding hands. Laughing. One photo taken through what looked like a restaurant window. Another. In a motel parking lot. Someone had been watching them. Someone had kept this. The 6th photo was different. It was a grainy shot. A man's back, standing at our front door. The timestamp, February 15th, 2010. The day after the letter was dated. It wasn't Tom. It was another man. Tayer. Darker hair. Someone else entirely. I stared at the last photo for over an hour. A blurry image of a tall man standing at my front door. My house. The same white door Rachel painted sunflower yellow in 2012, still white in the photo. The timestamp, February 15th, 2010, etched in the corner like an accusation. But it wasn't Tom. Who the hell was it? And more importantly, what was he doing at our house the day after Tom wrote that letter? I sat in my classroom after hours, the building empty except for the faint hum of janitorial machines 2 floors down. I stared at the image, zooming in, trying to make sense of the silhouette. No license plate, no visible car, just the back of a man in a jacket, his posture tense, facing our front door like he belonged there. I called Tom that night. He picked up on the second ring. "Did you ever come to my house?" I asked. "No. God, no." "Then who did?" Silence. "Someone else was involved, wasn't there?" I pressed. "It wasn't just you." Tom exhaled into the phone. "Not that I know of." She never said anything about anyone else. She wouldn't have. I said bitterly. "You were just the first layer of lies." The next evening, Rachel and I sat across from each other at the kitchen table. Harper was at a friend's house. Miles was 2 hours away at college, blissfully unaware. I placed a flash drive on the table. Someone sent this to me. Rachel didn't move. I clicked through the photos on my laptop, turning it so she could see each one. She didn't speak until the final image. Her face drained of color. "Do you know who that is?" I asked. She didn't answer. "Rachel." Still nothing. Then, "Where did you get that?" It showed up on my school. No note. Just this. Her hand moved her mouth. I could see something shifting behind her eyes. Shame? Shock? I couldn't tell. "Tell me who he is," I said. She sat back slowly. "I don't know his name." "Not really. He showed up once. Just once." I frowned. "He was at our house." She nodded. "Yes. I never told you because I wasn't sure it was real. I thought maybe I imagined it." That made no sense. "You imagined a man showing up at her front door?" Rachel's voice was thin. "He was from the nonprofit. Not someone I worked with. He was on the board. We talked once or twice in meetings. Nothing major. Then one day, I got a card from him in my mailbox at work. Just said he admired the way I handle myself in the office. A compliment, I thought." She paused, staring into the grain of the table. I didn't respond. Then he left flowers. Once. I told the front desk to stop accepting things for me from anyone not on staff. Then a week later, he showed up at the house. I was shaking while I was at work. She nodded. He asked if I got the flowers, if I'd read the card. He was off. Something in his eyes. Like he thought we had some secret connection. I told him never to come back. That I was married. That I had kids. I never saw him again after that. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. Rachel looked like she'd aged 5 years in 5 minutes. "Because you already doubted me, Daniel." Back then, we were fragile. I was fragile, and I thought telling you someone like him showed up would just make you think even worse things. I leaned back in my chair. My brain was spinning. Was this before or after Tom? Her silence was my answer. I stood up. So, there was someone else? Even if nothing happened, there was always another layer you didn't tell me about. I didn't cheat with him, Rachel said quickly. I swear. That's not the point, I said. You kept it from me. Just like the letter. Just like everything. I needed space. I left the house and drove for hours. No direction. Just movement. My phone buzzed. A blocked number. I let it ring out. A minute later, a voicemail. I pulled over and listened. It was a man's voice. Daniel Pierce, you don't know me, but I knew your wife. Years ago, I sent the photos. You deserve to know the rest. Meet me. Public place. Saturday. 3 p.m. Bennington Park, under the War Memorial. Come alone. The voice was calm. Older, maybe. No accent. No emotion. I sat there in the car, alone on a dark street, heart pounding. This was deeper than I thought. Someone knew something. Someone had been watching. And now, they wanted me to come find the rest. Saturday arrived with the kind of wind that cuts through you, even with the sun out. I pulled into Bennington Park 15 minutes early, parked near the tennis courts, and walked toward the War Memorial. It's a small structure, 3 stone pillars carved with the names of local veterans. A flag fluttered behind it, half-mast for someone I didn't know. I stood there, heart thudding, scanning every face that passed. At 3:01 p.m., he arrived. Gray coat, faded jeans, balding, late 50s, maybe early 60s. He walked with a slight limp and carried a black folder under one arm. You Daniel? He asked. I nodded. He glanced around, then motioned to the bench behind the memorial. We sat. My name's Alan, he said. Alan Kirkman. Didn't ring a bell. I was on the board at Lakeside Foundation, the nonprofit where your wife worked. I clenched my jaw. Back in 2010, he continued, there was an incident, a complaint, technically, against another board member. Name was Raymond Walsh. I knew that name. He was mentioned in passing years ago. One of the big donors Rachel used to talk about at dinner. Always sounded like some corporate creep who loved the smell of his own money. He was married, Alan went on, 2 kids, but the man was a predator. Subtle, calculated, targeted younger women at the office. Always under the radar. I stared at him. Rachel, I asked. Alan gave a slow, tired nod. He got fixated on her. Tried to groom her. Notes. Flowers. Then one day, he showed up at her house. I froze. Wait, you knew he came to the house. I only found out later. She told HR, quietly. Said she didn't want to press charges. Just wanted him to stay away. HR recommended she go on temporary leave. Raymond resigned quietly a week later. No news story. No police report. The board swept it under the rug. Said it would damage our fundraising. And she, your wife, she walked away. I didn't speak for a while. She never told me, I said. She wouldn't have, Alan replied. She was ashamed. Not because she did anything wrong, but because we didn't protect her. None of us did. I tried to reach out, but she never replied. She left, and Raymond disappeared. And the photos? I asked. Alan opened the folder. More pictures. Some from the nonprofit offices. Some candid. Rachel walking alone downtown, glancing over her shoulder. One of Raymond near her car. He had someone follow her, Alan said. A private investigator, probably. Maybe more than one. We only pieced this together after he left. A junior staffer found a stash of photos in Raymond's old office, hidden behind a false drawer. My hands were trembling. This is obsession, I whispered. Alan nodded. Yes, and it didn't end in 2010. I looked up sharply. What do you mean? Alan pulled out a printed email. From Raymond Walsh 1962 at protonmail.com. To a kirkman.lakeside@gmail.com. Subject, she doesn't belong to him. Date, 3 months ago. You let her go. You all did. But I still see her. I know where she shops, where she walks. She's still lying to him. He doesn't know who she really is. But he will. I felt like I've been punched in the lungs. You're saying he's still watching her? Alan nodded grimly. I believe so. But why come to me now? Because 3 months ago, that email hit my inbox out of nowhere. and it terrified me. I tried to trace it. No luck. I figured he'd moved on. But then I saw you reached out to Tom Harper. And I saw your name again on social media, commenting on a Lakeside alumni group. Alan stood. I didn't want to carry it anymore. You deserve to know what you're standing in. I took the folder. It felt like a loaded weapon. He's still out there, I whispered. Alan nodded, then walked away. That night, I sat in my car outside our house, folder on the passenger seat, watching Rachel through the living room window as she folded laundry. I didn't go inside. I couldn't. Was she lying again? Or was she protecting us? How long had Raymond been watching? Had he ever stopped? I decided to call my brother. Sam's a detective in a suburb outside the city. We don't talk much, different worlds, but blood is blood. I told him the basics. Skimmed the affair. Told him about the photos. The email. Raymond. He went quiet for a moment, then said, "Send me everything. I'll run a background check. See if he's resurfaced. But Daniel, don't confront him alone. Guys like this, they don't let go easily." That night, I finally told Rachel everything. Alan, the photos, the email. Her hands shook. She didn't try to lie. She just sat on the floor and cried. Not the guilty kind. The scared kind. "I thought he was gone," she whispered. "I swear to you, I thought he was gone." We sat there for hours. Silent. Afraid. Then my phone buzzed. It was Sam. Raymond Walsh died 6 years ago. Suicide. Jumped from a bridge upstate. No foul play. Confirmed ID. He's dead, Daniel. I stared at the screen. My skin went cold. Then, who sent the email? Who was watching her? Who had the photos? And why? After all these years, was it starting again? If Raymond Walsh was dead, then someone else had picked up his obsession. Someone who knew about Rachel. About our past. Our house. Our marriage. And someone who had access to the photos he left behind. For 3 days, I barely ate. Rachel was shaken, quieter than I'd ever seen her. She barely left the house. Harper noticed. Asked if Mom was sick. I said yes, just tired. I kept checking my phone, waiting for an update from Sam. Nothing. Until late Friday night. A single text from my brother. "You need to come over. Alone. Now." Sam lived about 30 minutes away, in a modest one-story house he'd inherited from our aunt. He met me at the door in sweatpants and a hoodie, eyes bloodshot. He didn't say anything at first, just handed me a printed file and motioned toward the dining table. "Run it yourself," he muttered, line by line. The file was a background report. The name on the top, Gavin Pierce. My father. I stared at it like it was a bad joke. "What is this?" Sam sat across from me, rubbing his temples. About 6 months before Raymond Walsh's death, he said, there were calls made from his home number to his cell registered under a pseudonym, Jack Kirk. That phone was later traced to a burner, but through cell tower logs and indirect routing, it links back to someone else. He looked at me. "Dad." "No," I said immediately. "That's not. He's been dead 10 years. What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Sam said slowly, "Raymond didn't work alone." The folder included old email headers, letters Raymond never sent, drafts recovered from a reformatted hard drive. Some are mundane, some weren't. "She's slipping from me. He doesn't deserve her. You saw it too. He's too blind to see who she really is. We both know she's more than a pretty face. You said it yourself. I just want her to admit it. Why would Dad?" I stopped myself. Then I remembered. Rachel and I had stayed at my parents' house for a weekend that winter. I was out running errands with Mom, and Dad stayed behind with Rachel. I thought nothing of it. He always liked her. Said she brought life into the family. Too much life, maybe. "Are you telling me our father was feeding a stalker?" I asked. "I think he did more than that," Sam said. "Look at this." He pulled out a crumpled envelope from a plastic evidence bag, found in a box of old family stuff Sam had been clearing out from storage. Same handwriting as the one I found in the attic. Same scrawled tone. Except this one wasn't addressed to Rachel. It was addressed to me. "Dan, you'll never understand. Some women aren't meant to be tied down to soft men. They need danger. Fire. You build her a house. He offered her escape. One day you'll see that." I dropped the page like it burned me. Sam whispered, "Dad sent that." Or, at the very least, believed it. It didn't make sense. My father, stoic, old school, private, was always a hard man, but this was twisted, jealous, almost possessive. What else? I asked. Sam hesitated. I didn't want to believe it either. But Rachel wasn't the first. I froze. There was a pattern, Dan. Women he fixated on. Friendly at first. Then subtle lines crossed. We never saw it as kids. But when I joined the force, I started putting pieces together. A friend of Mom's. A neighbor. A cousin's wife. Just enough that no one talked about it. But enough to leave scars. My mouth went dry. And Rachel, I think she was the last, Sam said. Maybe even the one he regretted not getting closer to. And maybe Raymond Walsh was just an extension of that. A surrogate. Someone he encouraged to go further. I drove home like a man underwater. The truth thick in my lungs, impossible to swallow. Rachel was in the kitchen, cutting carrots like it was any other Friday. I told her everything. Every word. She dropped the knife. Her face turned white. I didn't know, she whispered. He was always kind, old-fashioned, but never like that. I thought, she shook her head. I thought he looked out for us. I wanted to vomit. I thought about every family dinner, every photo, every forced hug, the way he always asked me if Rachel was happy, how he pulled her aside at her baby shower to say, "You're radiant. You'll always have someone looking out for you." He wasn't talking about me. That night, I didn't sleep. Neither did Rachel. The house felt cold, haunted, not by ghosts, but by memory, by everything we didn't see, by what we let live in silence. In the morning, I opened the last folder Alan had given me. A letter Raymond wrote, but never mailed. It was to Gavin. "My father. You were right. She's special. She's not like the others. She's fire in a glass case. Made to be seen, not touched. But I touched her, and I want to again. You told me I'd regret it, that I'd never look at my own wife the same way again. You were right, but I'd still choose her. He doesn't deserve her, Gavin. He's weak. Always was." I closed the laptop, hands shaking, jaw clenched. Rachel stood in the doorway. "I want to leave," she whispered. "Where?" "Away. Just for a while. With Harper. We need space." I looked at her. The woman I'd known since I was 23. The woman who'd lied. Who'd been lied to. Who had buried guilt under carpets we walked on for years. But I also saw someone wounded. Human. Not a villain. Not a victim. Just a person who didn't have all the answers. "Okay," I said. She nodded and left to pack. That evening, while she was upstairs, I stepped outside for air. That's when I saw it. A car across the street. Black. Parked under the trees. No lights. I walked toward it. It pulled away, slow at first, then faster. I couldn't see the driver, but I knew it wasn't Raymond, and I knew it wasn't over. The black car haunted me for days. I told Rachel. She was already halfway packed. Said we should go to a hotel, just for the weekend. I agreed. Not because I was afraid, because I didn't know what else to do. I called Sam. Gave him the license plate. Partial, but enough. He promised to run it quietly. In the meantime, Harper thought we were just on a short family trip. She never saw the panic underneath our eyes. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for, but they also want to believe the grown-ups are still in charge. I try to be that man. I don't know if I succeeded. 3 days later, Sam called. I got a hit on the car. I leaned into the phone. "Who?" "Owned by a woman named Camille Jensen." "Ring a bell." "No. She's a nurse," Sam said slowly. "Works at the private care facility where Dad was sent before the stroke." I sat down hard. "He wasn't alone," Sam said. "In the years leading up to his death, she was close to him. Letters. Gifts. Nothing illegal. But odd. Very odd. So this woman, Camille, what? She's watching us now." "I don't think she's doing it for herself," Sam said. "I think she's doing it for him." Rachel and I returned home that evening. I didn't tell her everything. Just enough. She deserved peace, not a deeper rabbit hole. That night I waited. The black car didn't come back, but a letter arrived. No return address. Hand-delivered. Left on our porch. I opened it alone. He told me everything. Gavin. He trusted me. About Rachel. About you. About how he couldn't understand why you didn't see what she was. I have watched her because he couldn't. I've kept notes. Photos. I know where she goes, who she meets. She's not who you think. You should know that. You should protect yourself. No threats. No violence. Just that chilling certainty. That quiet belief that they were helping me. I handed the letter to Sam the next day. He tracked Camille down. Visited her in person. She denied everything. Said she'd never seen me before. Said she loved Gavin like a father. Nothing more. Claimed no knowledge of photos, emails, letters. The paper trail dried up. No arrest. No confession. Just unease. The kind that stays in your walls. Rachel and I sat on the back porch one evening. Summer fading into fall. The sky the color of bruised peaches. "I don't know what you want from me anymore," she said. I didn't either. The truth is, I wanted to hate her. At first I did. For the affair. For the secrets. For making me doubt everything. But the further I dug, the more I saw how broken the world around her was. Around us. And how many things she never asked for. How many things were forced upon her. She was wrong. Deeply. But she was also hurt. And scared. And human. So was I. "I want to rebuild," I said finally. She looked at me, surprised. "With you?" she asked. "With myself first," I said. "Then maybe with us. But only if we're both willing to start from scratch." She nodded. That was all we had left, raw honesty. And silence that wasn't punishment, just space to breathe. It's been a year since the letter. Since the black car. Since the attic. Rachel and I went to counseling. We faced hard questions. We told the kids some version of the truth. That life is messy. That love isn't perfect. That even adults have to earn trust back. I didn't forgive everything, but I stopped letting the past live rent-free in my ribs. Sam retired from the force. We talk more now. About Dad. About what we missed. What we should have seen. He's not haunted anymore. Just humbled. Rachel returned to nonprofit work. A different one. Smaller. Less pressure. She comes home earlier now. We eat together more. Harper got into a college she never thought she could reach. Miles calls once a week, even if he has nothing to say. And me? I write. Not books. Not poems. Just thoughts. Letters. To no one. To myself. To the man I used to be. To the man I want to become. Sometimes I visit the attic. I don't know why. Maybe because it reminds me how easily something can sit above you for years, hidden, gathering dust, and still change everything once the light touches it. But I don't live up there anymore. I live here, in the present, in a broken but healing quiet between two people who decided not to throw everything away. I kept one photo, not of the affair, not of the stalker, just one, Rachel, Harper, and Miles at a lake in Wisconsin. Summer of 2011, right after the storm, right before we forgot how to see each other clearly. I look at that picture sometimes, not because it erases anything, but because it reminds me, even when love gets lost, it doesn't always die. Sometimes it just waits, buried, until someone's finally willing to dig.